I will not waste your time here. LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is a step forward for the LEGO franchise in many departments. It doesn't reinvent anything nor it tries to appeal to a whole new public. However, it brings a new level of production quality that makes the experience a joy to play from beginning to end. To top it all off, the Switch version is overall solid, retaining many of the improvements in the graphical department with occasional sacrifices to the performance in specific sections. I will talk more about that later in the video. Well, that's an overall look. Now, let's dive deeper into the game.
Get in there, you big furry oaf! I don't care what you smell!
Over the years we saw tons of LEGO games for different franchises and brands, but longtime fans will remember that everything started with LEGO Star Wars in 2005. Since then it seems that the developers always had a sweet spot for the franchise, putting an extra effort in the games that had the Star Wars brand attached to it. With the Skywalker Saga it seems that they've put their biggest effort yet. All 9 main movies are represented here, the originals, the prequels and Disney's sequels. I know that this may look like a lot, but it truly isn't. You'll spend probably 2 to 3 hours completing the 5 main levels of each episode. And I'm not complaining, none of the levels overstays their welcome and you are always doing something different. The big action moments that you remember from each movie are almost always fully playable. You'll be able to make an AT-AT trip on your ship's cable, face Darth Maul on a lightsaber battle, participate on pod racing, and of course, face your own father in a battle. That probably can give you a perspective on how much variety there is in the gameplay department. Not all those sections are equally fun and well made. Pod racing, for example, I think it's excessive simple. However, I didn't find any of the worst levels to be actually annoying, just less inspired. On the other hand, levels with boss battles, dogfights and tons of combats were definitely the best ones and a huge upgrade compared to previous LEGO games. Now, the moment-to-moment gameplay still is the classic LEGO experience. You are progressing on a linear path, destroying everything in your way to collect studs and occasionally fighting some enemies. That's why I said that nothing is being reinvented here. It still is a game mostly aimed at kids, with simple puzzles and almost no repercussions to dying. The difference, however, is that some of those elements are more engaging now. The close third-person camera is perfect for the new combat system that incorporates combos, counters, and shooting. It's nothing crazy like a platinum game, but it's enough to make me actually have fun. The variety of characters is also fun. I don't think there's anything more satisfying than to slice a horde of enemies with a lightsaber. Enemies made of LEGO, of course. Calm down, Anakin. Specific puzzles will require other characters like a scavenger or a droid, and I must admit that during my playthrough I rarely gave much attention to the different classes and skill trees. You have many characters available during a level, and I would usually end up choosing a Jedi or a hero, using others only in specific cases because they felt more clunky for the usual level progression. I mean, it's hard to compete against the Jedis and Siths, they were literally designed to be the coolest in the galaxy. The general upgrades on the other hand are great, making characters faster, stronger, or giving useful abilities like automatically attract studs while walking. Oh, and of course, during the adventure there are many amazing cutscenes that tell a very humorous version of the story in these movies. A lot of the plot points are simplified here, and that's the whole point. It's like watching a highlight of each movie in LEGO version, and I love it. An important note, the game has tons of options for accessibility, like changing the text, controls, effects, and adding gameplay assistance. It's always nice to see those options in any game. Okay, so far I've talked about what you do on the game in a microstructure, inside the levels. But what I really liked is more on a macro structure. Let me explain. You're not going from one level to the other with loading screens between each one. They actually created a big chunk of the Star Wars universe where you can explore, I would say, almost every single set piece from the movies. To put into perspective, let us say that you are playing episode 2 as Obi-Wan and you have to go to the planet Kamino to see the clones. Well, you just board your ship from wherever you are, travel through the hyperspace, and arrive on the planet. I just think it's amazing because it really brings the world from the movies alive. It doesn't matter that it is a LEGO game when everything still is clearly recognizable, and the fact that they are not only recreating those scenarios as they were, but giving the illusion that everything is made of plastic is even more amazing. And the attention to detail is truly magnificent, not only in the models, but also in animations, character expressions and everything else. Now, of course, it's not a proper open world. Each planet has specific areas that you can travel between. There's a lot to explore in those areas, but nothing crazy. I actually liked the way they did it, and I constantly saw myself exploring some of those fascinating places. There are quests, NPCs, hyper bricks, enough to populate some of those areas. At the end of the day, I'll admit that the biggest draw for me was purely visual. It's amazing to see and explore places like Tatooine, Coruscant and the Sky City. And to add to the visuals, we have the fantastic original soundtrack from the movies. There's nothing for me to complain about that. In case you don't want to play any specific episodes and just freely explore the galaxy, well, you can. In this mode you are able to select any character or ship that you already unlocked to explore these places. It's a great way to keep playing after finishing all episodes with all planets unlocked. So don't think that this game is only the episodes, because there's a lot more to do if you want to complete it.
Your move. I have been trained in your Jedi arts. I count.
Let's talk about how it runs on Switch. So, the first impressions are really good. I watched the PC version on a preview and I immediately noticed how Switch managed to retain almost all of the reflections and more advanced new visuals, even if not at the same quality, but they are there. The overall resolution is really good. I didn't feel that feeling of everything being blurry, very common on Switch ports. The biggest sacrifice here was FPS. The game tries to maintain 30 FPS, but it can easily fall below that in more demanding moments, like in larger areas full of NPCs. Rarely this was a big problem for me in particular. I think it was the right call to prioritize the visuals instead of performance in a game like this. Probably the biggest problem is on multiplayer. I really felt that the performance gets to a level of almost unplayable on this mode. It really feels like a slow motion sometimes and it is really distracting. On portable mode, things get a little worse, with more frequent dips in the frame rates, even in single player, but it's still very much playable in small bursts. Overall, I think it's a good effort considering how good the game looks, hoping that with future updates they can improve performance. I should also mention that the game crashed randomly at one moment, and a funny glitch occurred in which characters became invisible on the title screen, but nothing beyond that.
You guys are the best. I never thought I'd make it to retirement, but here I am.
As you can tell, I really enjoyed my experience. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it is on par with my expectations since the trailers. As a fan who already watched these movies many times, it's a great way to relive some of these moments in an interactive way and full of humor. The Switch version is good enough if you plan to play on single player, but I really don't recommend for multiplayer sessions. Well, I hope that this represents a new era for LEGO games. I would love to see future releases with other franchises in these new formats. Let's wait and see. For now, may the Force be with you.
I need someone to show me my place in all this.